Right, so as you've noticed, we're talking about hangovers this morning, and we want to say a big thank you to our sponsors of the segment, Lipton Tea and Voltic Natural Mineral Water. Now, joining me in the studio this morning, I have Dr. Kojo Obing. He is a resident psychiatrist at Pantang Hospital, and will be giving us some insights into the effects of hangovers and all the merrymaking. So good morning, Doc. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine. How are you?
Good, I'm fine, thank you. It's a pity we're actually having this discussion today, because yesterday we actually had our annual TV3 dinner party. And I know for a fact that there are several of the employees here at TV3 who are suffering from hangovers today. Know yourselves and take the advice we're about to give you. Okay, so, Doc, first off, what would be the medical definition of a hangover?
Okay, it's a collection of symptoms. So it's almost a syndrome that occur following heavy alcohol consumption.
Okay.
Heavy is relative here. And they start when your alcohol consumption, blood alcohol levels falls near zero.
Okay.
So when you're coming off the alcohol, then symptoms start. You have headache, fatigue, stomach discomfort, dizziness, nausea, lots of unpleasant symptoms, and that will be your hangover.
Okay. Now, let's just talk about the prevention first off, because I mean, even the bits of advice that we're giving in the short video, drink in moderation. Now, that's a biggie in this particular part of the world, because although we may have certain alcohols that have labels and that can give us the alcohol content, we also have other forms of alcohol which don't actually tell us exactly how much we're consuming. So what would you consider as moderation?
Moderation, first of all, you have to understand it depends on the person and the situation.
Okay.
If you operate heavy machinery, or let's say you're a driver, we prefer it if you didn't drink at all.
Right.
If you have a heart condition, or you've had a previous stroke, again, we prefer it if you didn't drink at all.
Right.
But for people, general people who are just drinking, the current guidelines are 21 units for a man and 14 units for a woman.
Okay.
Now, these units, it's a bit difficult to understand clearly, especially with the drinks that don't have any alcohol content on them. And for that, I would say generally assume the worst.
Right.
Let's just work with like 45 or 50% or something like that, just to be safe. I think some research was done and found it was generally around 30%, but just to be safe, use something high.
Okay.
So how you calculate your units is you multiply the volume of your drink by the percentage alcohol. So the volume is in liters. So let's say you have a 330 mil beer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's 0.33 liters. Let's say it's 7.5%.
Right.
You multiply the two, you get something close to 2.5 units. So let's say a bottle of beer would be 2.5 units.
Right.
Yeah. And in a day, you're supposed to have a maximum of, let's say, 4 units.
Right.
And you should have at least 2 non-drinking days a week. See, this advice will be difficult. Yeah, it's going to be difficult to follow during the Christmas period. Yeah, but generally speaking, if you know yourself, it's helpful.
Okay, so that brings us to the next point, because it's knowing your limits.
Yeah.
Now, what would be the kind of reactions our body would give us that we would know that maybe we're getting to our limits?
Okay, so the general problem with alcohol is that you drink to get a certain feeling, tipsy.
Right.
Yeah, you drink to you feel light, you feel unburdened, you feel
merry.
You feel merry.
Right.
Yes. The problem is we keep on drinking, trying to chase that feeling, and that's when we go overboard.
Yeah.
Right. So it will be advisable to stop once you get there.
Okay.
If you understand what I'm saying, because when you keep all the problems come when you keep on chasing that, trying to maintain that or make it better.
Okay.
Because it doesn't get better.
Right.
It gets worse from there. Okay. And it generally takes your liver an hour to process a unit of alcohol.
Right.
So if you're tipsy now, it's not likely that you're going to be less tipsy for at least 45 minutes to an hour.
Right.
So you can hold on to that feeling without adding any more alcohol
right.
at that point in time. At least give it an hour. Let's see
yes.
where it goes. Don't just keep on putting and thinking that it's going to get better, because it doesn't.
Right.
It gets worse from there.
Mm-hmm.
And following that, then you have the loss of coordination, and you start being really silly.
Mm-hmm.
And if you keep on going long enough, then you can even pass out, become unconscious. Now, this is of concern to us medically, because this can lead to death.
Mm-hmm.
So my advice, when you get tipsy, if that's what you're aiming for, then stay there. Right. Don't add any more alcohol at that point. Yeah.
Okay, now we also have an issue with our climate. Now, obviously, we live in a very hot country. People will go out during the day, drink in the hot sun, which is further going to increase the effects of the alcohol, doesn't it?
Well, you sweat more,
right.
So
you
dehydrate more, and also the alcohol makes you urinate more,
right.
So you're getting dehydrated for two reasons.
So you're losing fluid quicker.
You're losing fluids quickly,
right.
And this coincidentally makes your hangover worse.
Okay.
So
they have to be hydrated as they're going along. Okay, so let's talk about the cure, because this is where all the myths and all the urban legends come into it. Now, I've heard of drinking again. Yeah. Hair of the dog, as they call
hair
it.
Of the dog,
I've heard of raw eggs, pepper soup. There's various ones. But what would you, as a medical professional, suggest that we do when it comes to dealing with hangovers?
In the medical field, and particularly in psychiatry, we have a funny view of hangovers, because yes, it's something unpleasant. Mm-hmm. So your initial inclination is to do something about it, to fix it.
Right.
But then it's also, we don't want you to be drinking that much. So it's something that helps us, we feel it's helpful to point out to alcoholics, that people who are consuming alcohol, that this is too much.
Right.
So we think it's good. It's your body's way of telling you, stop.
You've done
stupid. You've done enough.
Yeah.
So not much research has been done into trying to cure hangovers, because we feel it's helping us do our primary work, which is trying to get you to stop drinking.
So inadvertently, then, the hangover is somewhat of a deterrent.
Yes.
In future drinking binges.
So, funny enough, we don't have any any medication that we can give you to say that's going to stop the hangover.
Right.
But we do have medication that will cause a hangover.
You do?
Yes. It's called disulfiram. We give it to people who are trying to stop drinking alcohol.
Okay.
So you take it, and almost soon after you drink, you start feeling the effects of a hangover. You have the headache, the palpitations, your heart starts beating fast, the stomach pain, all of it. Yeah. So we will cause a hangover, but we're not particularly eager to treat a hangover, because we want you to stop drinking.
It makes a lot of sense.
That being said,
there are.
being said, and let me be clear about this. I am not advocating this, but the hair of the dog that bit me actually does work. But the problem is, if you drink again, eventually you're going to have to come off it at some point in time.
Yes.
And you're going to have one huge hangover.
Okay, so when you eventually just prolonging the inevitable.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Funny enough, the story of the fellow who started Alcoholics Anonymous was a surgeon.
Okay.
He had gone for a conference, came back. He had been drinking a lot the day before, and he came back in the morning. He was completely hungover, headache, fatigue, dizzy, was useless. Mm-hmm. But he had to perform a surgery that morning.
Wow.
So he rushes into work. Everybody's worried about him, and he calls his friend, because he's in trouble.
Right.
His friend comes. He's also struggling with alcohol, so he pours a couple of shots for him. Takes a couple of shots. Hangover symptoms go away. He goes, performs the surgery, and then after that decides it's too much.
That's enough.
Yeah. So he goes around all his friends and family, everybody he knows. So he was late home. So his wife was worried that something terrible had happened.
Yeah.
He had killed somebody, that sort of thing. But what he actually did was visit everybody he knew, people at work, friends, family, and told them that he has a problem with alcohol and he needs to stop.
Wow.
So they should all help him out, look out for him. If he's asking for alcohol,
they shouldn't give it to him, that sort of thing. That's why he was late home, because he realized at that point in time. And that's how AA started, Alcoholics Anonymous.
It was him and the fellow who poured in the shots.
Wow. That's
so it started with a couple of shots.
Yeah. Okay. What we're gonna do now is that we're gonna go over to Kevin in the other studio, and we're gonna find out what people are commenting about this particular segment and how they deal with their hangovers, and well, whether or not they actually drink in the first place. Kevin, do you drink?
Hello, Benny.
Have you ever had a hangover?
Okay, so let's take some comments on the what is your special way of dealing with hangovers? And these guys are not too happy, do they? No. Let's see what our viewers are saying about hangovers. Eric Watson says, okay. Oh, we won't take that one. Gideon is saying, taking a warm bath early morning and continue with a little drink that will cure a hangover. Asante K is saying, top up very early in the morning. Okay. ATGH says, avoiding hangover-free drinks. Okay, so I guess you're trying to say some alcoholic drinks can give hangovers and some cannot. Akpoti says, resurrecting the ghost. What? Okay. Rady says, drinking coffee. Michael Apia simply says, I don't get drunk. Father Lawrence says, lie down flat. Okay. Agana Vincent says, take a shower and rest. Kendrick Gucci says, wash down and take Martin's liver salt. Really? Martin's liver salt for a hangover? I think that's the first. Let's see some more. Let's take just a couple more. Alfie says, okay, we are over that. Padmore says, a freshen up and a cool glass of water or a liver salt. Sometimes people take to the use of some painkillers. The good news I have for them is they are okay. Let's take the final comment on hangovers. Millicent says, eating bananas in the morning. Okay, so that's our comments for hangovers. The treatments for hangovers. We'll go back to Studio C where Benny's standing by. Benny?
Thank you very much, Kevin. Just before you do run away, have you ever had a hangover?
Do you know, I would never get to that point of a hangover. Have you?
No comment. Okay, bye. See you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much to Kevin. Hey, listen, I've had a hangover before, and so what? Anyway, so we're back in the studio now with Dr. Kojo Obeng, and we're talking about hangovers. And we were just discussing while Kevin was on there a few other myths and tricks that could also help people. Now, there was one person who made a comment that there are certain drinks that give hangovers and certain drinks that don't. How true is that?
Well, you can get a hangover from all drinks. However, certain drinks have a higher propensity to give you the hangovers. Okay. And these are the darker drinks.
Okay, so we're talking about
things that are added to it for flavor and color.
Coloring. Okay.
They call them congeners, and they have been found to have a high ability to cause or to aggravate hangovers.
Okay.
So the darker the drink, the more likely you are going to get a hangover the next morning.
Okay.
Yeah. So some things like vodka, the clear spirits, they are less likely to give you a hangover or as intense a hangover. But however, if you drink enough of that,
you're going
to get the hangover anyway.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. What about, for instance, taking medication beforehand? I know there's another urban myth, which, now correct me if I'm wrong, and if I am wrong, I do apologize. It was an old German friend of my father's. Now, he told me that if you actually have intentions of drinking and don't want to have any issues, cod liver oil. He said if you line your stomach with 2 teaspoons of cod liver oil, you'd be okay. How true is that?
Actually, it's interesting. It's coming from a German because the Greeks are the ones that actually do that. They use olive oil.
Olive oil. Okay.
Olive oil for that.
What's the theory behind that?
It's supposed to slow down the rate at which the alcohol is absorbed into your system and therefore help even it out so that you don't get that hard a hit.
Okay. So it provides a lining?
Yeah, okay. That's a general idea. But the thing is, most of these things have been tested, and none of them have been proven to be helpful in all the symptoms. Some people will swear by them that they work, they've tried it with and without, but generally in medicine we like to do big trials and have a whole lot of people try it out and then say that this works. So some people will swear by it that it works. Other things that people have recommended that have been shown to have benefit in some areas for some people. It's drinking a lot of water before, during, and after. So before you're going to drink, whilst you're drinking, and then in the morning when you wake up. Making sure you eat before you go out. If you eat something fatty, that's where the oils come in.
Right.
If you eat something fatty, they think instead that's better. And also, if you are going to drink excessively, then you can take paracetamol the night before you go to bed, and then again in the morning. But the problem with this is if you do this frequently and you drink a lot, you might have either stomach problems or a liver problem. For either of these things, you really don't want to be taking paracetamol frequently.
Yeah.
So the advice is don't.
Okay, we're going to get to this now because obviously we want to inform everybody that we're not advocating alcohol consumption over the period. What we're trying to do is just find out some of the medical definitions and things that we can do to cope throughout the Christmas period. Now I want to take it to the extreme now, and let's go past the hangovers. Let's go where alcohol becomes abused. What happens when you have constant alcohol abuse? Because it's not everybody that will limit their consumption to Christmas. It's not everybody that's just coming to merry make and leave. There will be people here who are watching, who will be joining us over the period, that actually do have alcohol abuse problems. What would be the extent of alcohol abuse and how it can affect one's life?
Well, the people who commented, there were a couple of them I was very, very worried about.
Okay.
Because early morning drinking is a warning sign for alcohol dependence or alcohol abuse, and a lot of them had the solution of the hair of the dog that bit me, which means you're drinking in the morning
right,
by yourself. You can't call yourself a social drinker when you have to wake up in the morning and take a shot of something to continue your day. And if you're taking a shot in the morning, you're probably going to work with a bit of a sense, and you're drinking coffee trying to cover it up. All of these are signs that there's a problem.
Right.
Okay. Now, alcohol dependence, identifying it in yourself. First of all, it's like I'm saying, needing a shot or a drink in the morning because you are starting to withdraw. You're having tremors, you're feeling irritable, you feel unwell. And once you take a drink, you'll be fine. That's a clear sign that there's a problem. Okay. Needing a drink in the morning. Needing to drink more to get the same effect. So when you started drinking 2 bottles of beer, you were good. Now you need 4 shots of vodka. 4 shots of vodka, and then you get the same effect as 2 bottles of beer give you.
Yeah.
Now, because of the cost of the vodka, now you're taking 6 shots of aperitif. That sort of thing. You increase steadily, trying to get the same effect, as we call that tolerance.
Yeah. Right.
Call that tolerance of the alcohol. It's a clear sign that there's a problem. Now, what most people will see outwardly is that you lose interest in other things in your life. So you are not so concerned about being a good father, you're not so concerned about being a good husband, you're not so concerned about being a good worker. Your whole life is now focused on acquisition of alcohol.
Right.
So school fees, work, you show up late because you had to pass by the bar before you came.
Yep.
You don't work as well because you're a bit hungover a bit.
Yeah.
So
foggy in the head.
Yeah. So and then for lunch, then you go and take a bit. So you come back late from lunch. You leave work early so you can go and drink again. The quality of your work falls, but you don't care. Yeah. And a large amount of your salary is now going into supporting your habits. So you neglect school fees. You neglect the food that the family has to eat, and everything in your life is now heading towards the alcohol. Another thing that you notice is loss of control. So you sit down, I'll just have a beer today. Why not? You sit down, you end up having 6 bottles and a couple of shots. Right. You've lost control. You didn't do what you planned to do.
Yes.
You go for a board meeting or a retreat, and you say, for this period I'm not going to drink. But then you find yourself sneaking out to go and drink. You lose control over how much you drink, over when you drink. Now the alcohol is controlling you. Right. It's your master. It tells you when it wants some. And then the other thing that we see is a strong compulsion to drink. This is typically seen as several failed attempts to stop. You decided, no, it's okay. The doctor told me my stomach problems are all from the alcohol, so now I'm stopping. But then after a couple of months, you think, one beer won't. One beer won't back. Right. Yeah. And then another thing we see with them is what we call rapid reinstatement. So you say, I'm going to just have a beer, and by 2 days you're back to vodka.
Right.
So you go right back to where you were before, after just starting with a small amount.
Right.
It doesn't take a long time to build it up again. Now it just starts and then it just goes all the way again. Yeah. These are some of the things that we see that makes us know that the person has a dependence. And it's very, very worrying, like I'm saying, because it takes over all aspects of your life. And then there's the health complications. There's the risk to your heart. There's aggravation of hypertension, diabetes. You can get, like I'm saying, heart attacks, strokes, liver disease. Your liver, it kills your liver.
Yeah.
It kills your liver. Once your liver goes, when you're outside, they can do a liver transplant. Even then, you're not likely to get one because you have pre-existing behavior, which means you're going to spoil the new one. Yeah. You might as well give it to somebody who's not going to spoil it. Yeah. But in Ghana, that's not even an option for you.
Yeah.
So when your liver goes, and once your liver is gone, you're dead. There's not much we can do, and it's a miserable way to go. It's a miserable, miserable way to go. And of course, very, very importantly, impotence. People drink and all these concoctions saying that they're going to give you extra power and so on and so forth. In the long run, what they're doing is, killing your ability to perform.
Right.
So then you're going to have to drink more, trying to get it to work, and by drinking more, you're killing it even more, and then it's a vicious cycle.
Now, just to reiterate on something here, because although alcohol makes people feel, free and fancy and merry and all the rest, alcohol is actually a depressant.
Yes.
It's not a stimulant.
Yes.
Right. So literally, the more we intake, the more we are depressing our systems, the more we're depressing our minds, everything. Yeah.
So how that works is, your mind, you're able to comport yourself because there's a part of your mind that is, we call it inhibiting you.
Right.
It's stopping you from doing all the depraved, crazy things that you want to do right now. That's why you're not stripped naked and you're not running around the studio with your hangover.
Would do that, but yes.
So the first thing alcohol does is hits that center.
Right.
So then
knocks down that wall.
This inhibition goes down. So you get to say all the things that you wouldn't otherwise say. You feel, like you're Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a bit. So that is just the first level of the depression, because it depresses that particular center. Then eventually depresses everything. So your coordination goes, your verbal skills go. So from being able to chat up the girl, now you're not even able to put two words together.
Yeah.
I, you, ka, beautiful. Sort of thing, yeah. And then when you go on far enough, then it's rendering you unconscious, is attacking your center for breathing, and then your blood sugar goes down, and then eventually you die. You drink enough, you die.
Okay. I think we can end on that then, Doc, because I don't think we need to scare them a little bit more. All right, so we've been talking about hangovers and alcohol abuse this morning. I want to say a big thank you to Dr. Beng, who came in and was giving us all this medical advice.